Hey guys, it's your girl Millennial Mom. And if you haven't heard already about Anchor, it is one of the easiest ways to make a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other sources. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app and go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey mommies and millennials, I am back and I had to take some time off just to schedule some new co-hosts and get prepped for our new formatting and our new season coming up this fall and this winter. Along with that, I am homeschool prepping like the rest of the moms in America and parents. I am also reopening my company, Play School Learning Academy. We are so blessed to be in the percentage of businesses that stayed open during these critical times, during COVID-19. Moving forward, there are some amazing women I see on my timeline and some women that are just being blessed with motherhood and women that have just started their journey to motherhood. And I would like to say to you guys, congratulations. You guys look really amazing. Motherhood now is harder than ever with the new doctor's appointments and the way regulations are in the hospital. So just keep your heads up, keep looking up, keep looking forward, like my Uncle Daryl always tells me, and stay positive. It'll all work out. You guys know I can't leave, or you can't listen. Sorry, you can't listen to my next episode, Do I Want to Be a Mom, without me giving you guys a quick recommendation. The recommendation I'm going to give to you guys today is a show. It's on Showtime. It's written by Lena Waithe, and it's absolutely amazing. It's called The Chi. This show has some new actors in the Black culture that are being exposed, some older actors. It's just a good show. It's about the culture in The Chi, and I can say that Lena Waithe this season focused on other things. Like, I feel like sometimes in the Black culture, shows are focused on the cops and drug bust and things of that nature. She focused on sex trafficking. She focused on corrupt churches. She focused on discrimination with, gender. She focused on so many updated topics and issues in America that need to have the light shed on it. So congrats to Lena Waithe. I'm pretty sure she'll get some sort of award this year for that great show, The Chi. Make sure you tune into it on Showtime.
Yes. Okay, so I'm 29, going on 30, and I'm surrounded by that question, right? And that question is, when are you going to have kids?
Okay.
Been married 4 years, and that is like everything that I hear. Not only do I hear that, but that is also a lot of things that my friends who are either married or engaged or just my age and just dating right now, these are the things that they hear too. And it's a question that I sit around and ponder. So the answer,
yes, right? Of course I want to have kids. I come from a big family. Of course I want, my husband wants kids. So of course, but it's always a matter of like, okay, well, when, and I think my thing is the when part always throws me off because I'm genuinely watching other situations. Like, okay, well, what's this kid situation like?
Right.
I'm like, what? It looks like, to me, it looks like when mothers have their children young. And let me define young. Young to me is having kids anytime from right after high school or in high school up until before you're actually like married, and up until like 30.
Okay.
Up until like
high school to 30 is young.
Right. High school to 30, I think, is young to have kids. And
well, go ahead.
And so, so for me, I've noticed that when women have had those kids young, they haven't really been able to explore life. And so it seems like a lot of those women will be a little bit more frustrated with their children. That's what it comes across as. I've even watched a lot of these mothers who started out young, and I've watched their daughters grow up and have those conversations with their daughters. And, they've shared their toxic story. They've shared different things that have happened to them. And sometimes when I look back and I'm just like, you know what? Your mom was really just mad because you was in her way. And so that's my biggest thing. I'm just like, what? I don't want that. I want it to be more so of a situation where, all right, I have nothing else to do. I have nothing left to do except just have some kids. That way, when I do see people going on trips, or I do see people up and buying new cars, or whatever the case is, I'm not mad. You know what I mean? I'll be like, okay, I'm raising my babies. This is what I wanted. I wanted to have kids right now. I wanted to raise these kids, in the middle of the night when they're crying. I'm thinking maybe I won't be so frustrated. I'm thinking when I can't find a babysitter, I won't be so upset because I've had the date nights. I'm married right now. We're going on 5 years of marriage. And actually, we've been together for 5 years. And you know what that means. Every night is a date night. Pretty much every dinner is a dinner date because it's just us, and I want to get to a point in that where I'm like, all right, time for it to be somebody else, and I'm just not there yet. And that worries me, right? Because I'm like, okay, why am I 29 years old and I'm still not coming around? The mother thing, like everyone is imposing that I should be, and I honestly feel like it has something to do with with society.
You're very correct about that. But I mean, let's see here. Let me start with my kids. So I had them when I was pretty young. And I'll say that the time that I had my kids was at a time where I was right in the middle of school when I had Brandon. And I was right about to get a divorce whenever I had Brody. So they were at both very critical times. And I did have frustrating moments, but I had a great support system. And I think that is one of the biggest things that I see, a huge difference I see with young moms.
The different
age range that you're talking about, high school to 30 years old. Whenever you're younger and you have money to hire a nanny, or you have money to get a consistent, very safe babysitter, or you have your mama or the kid's grandmother, and
big mama
around do stuff, you're still able to do things. I know that I don't regret having my kids young at this point in my life, and I'm 32 now. So I started being a mom when I was 22. So I've been a mom for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'll say it had its frustrating moments, but I'll say I had a lot more patience back then with my children. At 22, I was like so fixated on making sure Brandon was exposed to Spanish and to sight words and reading books whenever he was younger. Right now in my life at 32, I don't have time for that. If I had a baby right now with a company trying to do a podcast, in a new marriage, dealing with co-parenting and with the kid's father, I wouldn't be able to possibly give a child 100% like I did whenever I was younger. Going back on the frustration, if I could say, I'm going to reiterate that I do feel like when you're young, you have to travel. There's a lot to see out there. There's a lot to do with friends. I will say that like my friends now, we're all like within the same age range, 31, 32. Some have kids, some don't. We have issues now where we're not able to, like, you know, they may not have a sitter. See, I've always been set up with a consistent sitter. I'm gonna find a sitter.
Yeah.
Like
you have a lot of siblings.
Yeah. And I feel like too, you have to make stuff happen, you know? And I feel like now we kind of have issues now that we're older. We have issues with trying to get together because they may not have a sitter. And like I said, I have one. And I feel like it's so important to make things happen for yourself. Give yourself me time. That's a lot of the millennial mom mission, is always making sure that you take time for yourself. You have to. I don't care how young you are or how old you are, even if you're 35, 40 years old and your focus is solely just that child, you know, and working, or maybe staying at home and working. You still have to take that time to yourself. It's only healthy.
Yeah. But how does the... Go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying that's why often I do podcasts. Podcasting is a moment for me. I get my drinks together. I talk. I have good conversation, solid conversation. And it's like, it might be 45 minutes, but it's 45 minutes with my co-host. 45 minutes of just me talking. My kids don't bother me because they know how important it is to me. Steve doesn't bother me. I'm just like in my own zone talking about what I want to talk about when I want to talk about it.
So how would, I mean, because I know you're saying that it's really the support system that really helps you, you know, be able to get through with school and stuff. You know, how do you see, or how do you create a support system? You know, I'm in a different situation now where I'm not close to family. You know, I'm 10 hours from home now. And now I'm, you know, I chose to move to Atlanta because I have some family here. And now I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay, is this going to delay me becoming a mother even more because I don't have that support system? You know what I mean? So now the question is, as a millennial mom, you know, a mom coming up in these millennial times, what does a good support system look like? Like, what should I be looking for?
So first off, your support system should probably more than likely be your family. I mean, that's family that you trust. I mean, just because it's family doesn't mean that you trust them. I mean,
right.
You know, but what I'm saying is your immediate family, grandma, you know, mama, and your siblings. If you don't have siblings, like I have friends that have no siblings. And so they really honestly just, their support system are their friends, honestly, because they're able to bring their child to a house and we're able to behave ourselves in a way like, okay, for instance, my one friend, if we have game night, there's a nice bedroom. We will help, you know, take care of the baby, hold the baby during game night. And yeah, it doesn't seem very typical, but none of us honestly could go and get totally wasted anyways, because we live a total different life, you know? So a support system now in your 30s is really like your friends, your close friends, and your family. Whenever I was younger, my support system was never daycare. And some people do have to rely on that, but I just relied solely on my mom. But now that mommy is a lot older and she's living her own life too, she's a lot less available, you know?
Right.
And it's okay with me because I'm an older mother now, to where I don't need her to be available because I'm not out as often, you know? My support system consists of it. Well, whenever I was younger with Brandon, it was you. It was mommy. It wasn't the boys because they weren't old enough. And myself and, you know, Brandon's dad, on that side, and Tisha. Those were like the six people that I would be like, okay, I could leave my kid with them and go to class, you know, because I was currently in school. Now that I'm older, my support system is really like, well, I have my own daycare. So when I have to run errands, Brody stays there. That's a benefit all in itself.
Yeah.
And then, occasionally when I go out, they'll go over Mama's house. And we also, because I'm co-parenting now, we work things out. When I need to do something for the weekend, I'm like, hey, it's urgent that you take them this weekend, no backing out, not that he like backs out on purpose, but just, no extra hours at work or anything, because you're probably going to have the kids this weekend. And we talk about it.
The kids.
That's just what it is.
Right.
So a support system with me, because, and that's some of the benefits of being divorced.
Yeah.
Is kind of having that other household for your children.
A safe one.
Right. And the benefits to the kids is that they get 4 Christmases. So, I mean, it has its bittersweet moments, but so what I can say about a support system is different ages, different stages. I guess that's one of my favorite quotes.
Mm-hmm. And that also, I was just going to say
is basically in your center circle, or that's your support system. You're gonna, when you have kids, you automatically cling to women with kids. I can say that not a lot of my friends just don't have kids or aren't involved with children. If they don't have children, their significant other does, or they have a younger sibling that they take care of like their own. So it's very seldom that I'm able to really connect with females right now that aren't living don't understand motherhood unless they're like really, really close to me, because that's what my life is heavily involved in right now. My kids are 5 and 10. So I'm a heavy.
And that's why, and that's why for me, I look at that like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to be an older mother, and I'm okay with that, because right now, I am still, on the go. Like my husband and I picked up and moved to Georgia during COVID-19. Like, you know what I mean? Like we'll pick up and go here or go there. And I have a lot of friends who are mothers. Actually, majority of my friends are mothers, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And that's really, why it's me and my husband all the time, because we're just in that age group now where people are building family. And I think in my mind, I want to build business. Like that's just where I am. And I have some things that I'm releasing, trying to release before the end of the year. I'm finally working on my first book that I've been trying to do for the last 10 years. And I'm just doing things that I've been wanting to do that I haven't been able to do because of college, or because I felt like I wanted to have that support, that spouse there. And now I'm doing it. But like I said, though, with me still in that mind frame of, I'm going, I'm trying to do right now. I'm also like, ooh, but, and we'll be 30 in 6 months. You know what I mean?
Under pressure.
Yeah, it is. It's like every day, like, oh my gosh, like we just went to a wedding this weekend, and actually the bride and groom are actually the same age as me and JL. And she's actually an OBGYN. She's a doctor herself. And so she's like my little personal doctor. She'd be helping me and telling me little things here and there, but she's not a mother herself. And she definitely helps, but she just tells me, the pressure for her is really crazy because she sees it every day. You know what I mean? And I'm like, it's amazing how expected women are to literally fall into what everybody is saying that you're supposed to be doing. Like, it's amazing. I always told myself I will never be pressured into doing something so large as having a kid. And I'm not pressured into doing it, but I feel the pressure. Every day I look at the date. It's another day closer to 30. It's another day closer to 31. And what does I say? Another day closer to being an old mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and that's what it is. Like, I don't want to be an old mom. I don't want to be, 50 years old and my kid is talking about somebody, they're not making good grades in high school. What? I'm 50 years old.
Right.
And that's
just to go back on where I was at with being a young mom, one thing I could say is Brody was pretty much a planned. I was married then. With Brandon, I was not married. So same father.
So do you feel like that one was easier?
Brandon, I was just so engulfed with Brandon that it was just like, you know, Brody was the child. Like I hustled with Brandon a lot, trying to get through school and stuff, but he was just a part of it. He sat there like I just made him a part of it. Like if I had a laptop, he had a laptop and he was sitting right next to me. You know? Wow. That's just how it was. Whenever I
see, and we weren't raised like that, right? Like, and that's the difference with this millennial mom thing, because we weren't raised like that. I had a mother that, you know, if I was sick in the middle of the day at school, we could call her. And she might be late to come pick me up, but she's available to come pick me up. It's a little bit different now, because now, you know, I think about that too. I'm not going to ever be able to just sit at home. I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm sorry. I'm never going to be able to just sit at home. Like,
right.
And that's another thing that also is like with having kids, because I'm like, whoa, I don't want to be stuck. Like, I don't know if how many people would know it or not, but my husband is, you know, ordained and licensed elder in the Lord's church, and he preaches and he plays. He's a musician as well. And so that involves him being asked to go to a lot of different places and to do a lot of different things. And for me, I don't want to be stuck at home, because I love going and meeting new people and doing new things, and, you know, even just worshiping God with new people and having worship experiences in new places, you know, and I don't want to sit at home with the kids. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing that makes me look like, you know, and that's why I'm grateful for this podcast, though, because I'm like, how do you do it both?
I mean,
you know, how do you?
It's, I will say it is hard to do a lot of stuff, but that's my fuel. That's my energy. That's where I get, like, if I didn't have, honestly, I don't know, like, I honestly don't feel like I would have accomplished so much at the age that I've accomplished it now. And like if I didn't have kids, I don't know.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely.
Because Brandon pushed me to graduate school and Brody pushed me to start my own business. Because at that point, I had to like decide, like, I feel like right now, if I didn't have Brandon, I probably would be in school to be some sort of weird major, and it would take me forever, and I would be dibbling, dabbling in and out,
trying to figure it out.
I want.
Yeah. And see, and that's another thing that I've observed about having kids, women with kids, they kind of make solid what they're doing because they have to be stable for somebody else now.
Right.
You know, and that right there, that just, I think that element has.
I mean, I think that's part of being a good parent, is just like, no matter what age you are, is kind of like, that's one of the, like, not saying that defines a good parent, but that's a part of being a good parent. And it's just basically making your life adapt to your child's world as well. But you have to also learn how to tap out of that. And that's part of being good to yourself. And when you're good to yourself, you could be better to your children. That's just how I feel. You know?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's hard to connect with your mom friends?
I, to be honest with you, a little bit. And that is because, number one, you know, like you said, when women become mothers, it doesn't like consume them. Well, it does. It consumes them. It consumes them. They are their children pretty much, like, and they're doing what their children are doing. And so for me, you know, I get uninterested, to be honest with you, you know, because I don't want to hear, you know, how your baby's going to the bathroom or how they're staying up at night. Cause I don't care. Like, I don't care to learn that, because it's just, I'm just being honest. Like, I mean, like, I care, don't get it twisted, you know, but at the same time, I'm just like, you know, if we're going to sit around and talk about something, I don't want to sit around and talk about your kid. You know, like, and I'm just, that's me just being honest from a single woman's perspective. Like, I don't want to talk about that. Now we can sit around and discuss marriage, you know what I mean? And things of that nature, because I'm there. I've arrived there. But I haven't arrived at the motherhood phase. And not only have I not arrived there, but I'm contemplating when that's even going to be the best move for me, because I'm scared, you know what I mean, to move into that. So it makes it a little difficult for me to connect to my mom friends. And like I said, I'm just not interested. You know, I have a close friend who became a mom recently, and we're already drifting apart. You know, and I think a lot of that is because the conversation that I might have, she's not interested in anymore, because she's worried about her firstborn, you know, eating correctly or whatever. You know, and I just don't have those worries. I'm worried about my next business that I'm trying to launch.
Well, I can kind of like, I can't say, and a lot of people feel like that's a selfish, like when moms hear that, they're like, oh my gosh, like that's so rude. But think about this. Me as a mother, I don't want to really, not say I don't want to really, because I do engage with people that don't have children. I'm saying that I find it harder to connect with someone that doesn't have the worry of a child. You know, like you say, let's get up and go. Stace, come on, let's go to Vegas. Well, wait a minute. I got a babysitter. You know, I have a whole other worry that
I don't have.
Say a worry. I'm not going to even say a worry. I have another task on my to-do list.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Yeah. You have more responsibilities.
It's not a worry. It's just like, okay, I got to call a babysitter and see if she calls me back right now. She might call me tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I do find it harder to connect with my friends that are kind of like, I've drifted apart from friends that aren't like kid focused. I mean, I have friends that don't have children, but they're eventually they're getting there. You know, I'm not saying just like all mommy, not at all. Like, not at all.
Right.
Like,
of course.
Not at all.
But you also want to go out to on a dinner date with someone who also has to get home to their kid. To let the babysitter.
It makes it more comfortable because but see, the best part about my life is that I live like this double life. And I say that because some weekends I do live a kid free. Some months, you know, like not months, but a month at a time. Like in the summer, I'm totally kid free. I'm living this like married with no kids type of lifestyle, but also
like the life I'm living right now.
I'm really not, because I'm always on guard. Like I'm always like, okay, I got to have my cell phone charged. Why? Because Brandon could call me.
You know, kids. Absolutely.
You know, whereas they may not feel that way because they don't have children, but I always feel that way. Like, oh my gosh, I always have to be available. When my cell phone dies, I have to like call my kid from another number. So in case something happens, when you're with someone other than myself, then you could go ahead and call me on that number. So this is a question I have for you. Are you planning on stopping your goals when you become a mother?
Well, I think my, yes. Okay. And that's the short answer. The answer to that is yes. And I'm just being completely honest, because that's number one. That is the only way I can even wrap my mind around it, because in my mind, see, I'm this kind of person. I'm the kind of person where if I set my mind on something big that I'm doing, I'm going to rope off time to do it and to settle in it. And that's just how I am. That's how I got through college. I was in college. It was like, okay, I'm not doing nothing for 2 years until I'm done with this, you know, these classes. That's just how I am. So I do plan on, when I do have children, as soon as I'm pregnant, I'm done that whole year. I'm not working on anything else other than this baby, getting acclimated to having this baby, and, you know, nursery, Pampers, things like that. And to be honest with you, I just don't know how I would be able to focus on having, you know, a child for the first time by myself with a very limited support system, because remember, I'm not home. And at the same time, still try to focus on, you know, my real estate company. You know what I mean? I don't see how I could do it.
Right. Well, I'll tell you this. That's one of my, if I could name a superpower for millennial mom, and I would say that my superpower would be multitasking. That's something that I've adopted with being a mom for 10 years, starting at 22. I have adopted multitasking. You have to be able to, like right now, do you feel like I'm just podcasting? No, I'm going through files for the business and organizing
as you're podcasting.
As I'm podcasting. So like you kind of adopt that that trait whenever you become a mother. Some moms are good at it, some moms aren't. There's days that some Mondays I'm good and some Mondays I'm not. You know?
Do you feel as though that's easier to achieve though when you're older?
What was that question?
Do you feel like that's something that comes a little bit easier when you're older?
Yes, because time management. Okay. Time management becomes a little more focused. When you're younger, like in my 20s, I wanted to still go on random trips to Vegas, you know? And I made it happen because I had a great, once again, support system. My 20s aren't filled with so much of that, you know? I go on vacations because they're planned, you know?
Right.
I will say that since my kids have gotten older, that me and Steve are kind of practicing being random because I like that. Like it's just like being random all the time. You can't do that. But being random sometimes it's fun to be spontaneous. With multitasking, I feel like it's gotten better as I've gotten older because my goals have changed. Like I said, my 20s were full like trying to go on random trips and stuff. My 30s are kind of filled with trying to start businesses, go to real estate school. I have a daycare right now, trying to start a laundromat, like doing stuff like with and building like a business and a name and a brand with my partner. So those are my goals.
Right.
A little bit different, and it kind of involved like kids kind of get entangled with that. You know, that's like it's an easy entanglement.
Yeah, definitely. No, for real. I can see that. I can see that.
My kids are totally different. I'm not really in a state of mind to just go out on a random Tuesday night and go drink, unless it's like one of those random nights. Unless it's like, okay, the kids are away, you know, and I got all my housework done. I'm gonna go and do this. And you have to give yourself like limits. I feel like limits are really a big thing with motherhood. Like, give yourself space. Your kids, just because you have kids doesn't mean that your whole life has to involve every living second. You have to breathe, eat, and sleep your child. It's okay to walk away and allow them to have their own time. It's okay to be off for a couple days, a week, however long you need. And if it's too long, then you need to go talk to somebody. That's how I feel.
Right.
You know, because you're showing signs of maybe some depression.
Withdrawal.
Yeah, withdrawal. But, you know, it's not abnormal to want to take some days off to regain your energy to be able to persevere through your daily tasks. You know, like right now, actually, I have to go do another podcast episode between 3 and 6. And it's so crazy because the person I podcast with, Margie has a child, but she'll come, and then Kev, he'll be there, but he doesn't have any children. And so we have to give him a time span. He's like, hey, what's up? And I'm just like, dude, you have no idea. Like, I haven't even ordered the groceries yet, which I have to do. I haven't even ordered the groceries yet for my dinner. So you think that I have any insight on what's going on in a couple hours? No, I do not. So what I'm about to do is order my groceries. And while I order my groceries, I'm going to speed through this house and finish cleaning up. The time the groceries come, I'll cook dinner. That should be around 3 or 4 o'clock. Dinner should be done. I'll then go drop Brody off at Mama's house because he wanted to go swimming today. And I'll come back to McKee's Rocks and I will go podcast by 6 p.m. I'll podcast till about 6 to maybe like 8, no later than 10 with editing if we choose to. And then I'll come home I'll watch Greenleaf with my husband, and we'll have our daily conversation and check in. And then I'll go to bed, and I'll wake up at 5 o'clock, go pick Brody up for 5:30, and make my way to the daycare for 6 o'clock. And I'll work until 4 and come home. And Brody and Brandon are going to their dad's house, go to Virginia Beach. So I just make sure they have trunks. And then after that, I will take a shot because I made it through 4 of nonstop working.
Nice. Is that your reward?
Well, my rewards involve all types of things. I'm feeling like a shot that's if I could pick out a basket, that's the one I want. So, yeah.
Well, this is another thing that I wanted to address too, like, because I'm sitting here and I'm pondering, I'm thinking, some of the whole, do you want to be a mom, or the pressures and things. I also feel like a lot of the pressure subliminally comes from fear, health fear as well. So we're in a time now where endometriosis is really getting the awareness that it deserves and has been deserved, for some time now. And I know women with endometriosis that are, older than me, and they don't have children because of it. I know women who are, just infertile, or they're just having a hard time getting pregnant, or whatever the case is. And to be honest with you, that's a really big pressure. Like, that's one of the bigger pressures. It's literally health driven, because let me tell you how big of a pressure this is. That was so big of a pressure that my husband and I was on an IUD when we first got married. And I was like, because we knew we didn't want to have kids right away. We had things that we wanted to do, but I ended up getting my IUD taken out. When I got my IUD taken out, I expected to get pregnant right away. And I didn't. Month after month, I did not get pregnant. And I was just like freaking out. Like, oh my gosh, like something's wrong. I'm just like convinced that something's wrong, because that's what we're surrounded by now. And so I went and I got something called a histogram.
Okay.
I think that's what it's called. A histosonogram, something like that. And basically what they do is fertility specialists, they will take a whole sonogram of your all of your reproductive organs. They'll go in, they'll check your uterus, they'll check your fallopian tubes, they'll make sure that liquid can get pushed through your fallopian tubes, they'll check your hormones, they'll check everything to make sure that you can conceive. Okay. And I actually went for that because I was afraid. I'm like, oh my goodness, is something going on? Like, is something wrong? And literally that comes from society pushing me. And that's what I've realized, because I was last year. And I'm like, I didn't even want to have kids last year. I was just so pressured by, whoa, what if something's wrong with me? Let me try to get pregnant. Because I'm like, what if I can't get pregnant like everybody else? You know what I mean? And that was a whole nother pressure aspect that came in that I didn't even realize was the fear of my health.
Right.
Because, there's other women who have these health complications. The results, everything's clear. I'm good. I'm good to conceive and everything like that. It just wasn't the right time. And now I'm glad that didn't happen and we didn't conceive, because what I didn't realize was that we were moving that next year.
Right.
And, and now that we moved, I'm like, whoa, I don't want to have the children. But I was so pressured.
Right.
I was so pressured, being at home, living at home, and just being certain. And then that's another thing. There wasn't much going on in my circle of friends. Everybody was just having kids. And it was like, that was really it. It's just like, oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, are you pregnant? I'm pregnant. Are you pregnant? And it was just like, okay, well, what else are we doing?
Right.
And it's that disconnect right there that you said, it's hard to become friends with moms. It's just like, there's a disconnect. Because, like I said, I don't want to sit around talking about I missed my period. Take a test. Let's be pregnant. No. Like, I'm trying to get to Hawaii. See what that's like.
So you're basically what you're saying, and it's okay to be this way. You know, people, like, I feel that people's character traits have a lot to do with their parenting style. And so you're an adventurous type of person. And what I'm gaining from you is that you kind of want to have that same adventure, but with your child when your child gets there. So you
absolutely
like kind of dwell in that. But there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to tell you right now, when you do have a child, you're going to need time away from your child. Like, you're not going to be able to just surround yourself and be like, my child, my child, my child. It's going to be great to be that way, because I'm like that. Like, my kids don't really go, like, when they went with their dad, that was the first time they ever went with their dad since our divorce for a month. And I was really like, oh my gosh, like it was taking like the last week I was counting down, like, come on, it's time for you guys to come home. And now I'm just like, they're leaving Thursday, and I'm just like, oh, I really don't want them to leave, because I feel like they just came back.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm grateful for the free time. You know?
Right. Because when school starts, ain't gonna be a lot of free time.
Right. Well, we're cyber schooling, so I believe they have internet at their house. So.
Well, there you go.
We're doing online school, so I don't understand why we can't and there.
I agree.
So I agree. I am. I'm not sure what mommy parenting style I have, but mine involves like also considering myself, and I've come that a far way with that, because I will say that with Brandon, when I was a younger mom, it was all about him. I could care less about me going anywhere, doing anything. I didn't care. I was just so fixated on my kid.
Yeah.
And I think that came with the first mommy, you know, moments. I will say, I feel like it's just like that commercial when you have a second child.
Oh yeah.
Things
they put them in the shower.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you know what, to be honest, with me being you know, someone that has watched moms around me like develop into moms, I honestly I've seen that in my friends, because you were definitely like that with Brandon versus Brandon. And I have another friend that was like that with her oldest versus her second.
Right.
And it was like, we couldn't even, like, you would have thought the first baby was Baby Blanket, Michael Jackson's baby, because we couldn't even see the child. Like, it was crazy. And then the second baby came, and I mean, she's a newborn. They're just like, yeah, you want babysit? I was like, oh, okay. That's what we're doing.
Hey, you want a babysit?
Yeah, like, I thought they were still breastfeeding. What you mean? Like, you looking for a babysitter already? Yeah. And that's funny, because they were talking about that on Real Housewives of Potomac too, because there's a new character on there, Wendy. And Wendy just had her third baby, but Ashley just had her first son. And they're on there actually discussing that, about how she said she had that baby and walked out. She literally carried her baby out, fabulous, with a whole sundress on, out the hospital. And
right. And when you're a full-time mom, you're like, I need a wheelchair.
Right. That's what Ashley did.
You are. The second baby, you're like, okay, by the third, if I had a third child right now, well, for us, it'd be 5, because we have together, I have 2 boys, he has 2 girls. So it'd be 5. But if by birth, it'd be my third. And so if I had a third child, I would tell you, I would probably walk out like that too. I probably would. Like, pull up.
Pull up. That's funny. Yeah, but that's my stance on, becoming motherhood, because that's what it is. It's becoming. I think as a woman, if you want kids, you're always becoming a mother, because I'm always observing, I'm always watching. I'm looking at how I was raised, versus how maybe other children were raised, such as my husband. We're able to compare and contrast. Parenting styles and how we want ours to look.
Right. Well,
You know?
I'll say this. One piece of advice I could give you is that there's no guide to parenting. Parenting is about what comes from the heart, what you know, what you have learned, how you were parented, like you said. And so to worry about, because there's no guide, you also can't have worries either, because there's no answer to your worries until you get to that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you sit around and worry on why you don't want to be a parent, you could possibly procrastinate and not become one. That's how I feel. Because
That's true.
you'll become older and older and older. And let's just be honest, when you become older, your chances are less and they're a lot more risky. I mean, due to technology and medical devices and medicine, we're able to, thank God, have babies, at 50 years old.
But I don't want to be 40 years old with nobody's 2-year-old.
That's true. So
That's just the choice, though. Some people want that. I don't want that.